Pollution!
Pollution is defined as the introduction into the natural world of a substance which can cause physical injury or death and illness if taken into the human body. The water we drink, the air we breathe, the food we eat, the world around us. These are the things we take into our bodies, the very things we need to survive, and humanity is polluting them.
Movement, respiration, excretion, nutrition, reproduction. These are the defining characteristics of life. Reproduction is one of the most basic life processes, and pollution may be endangering ours. Fertility is our ability to reproduce. On the other hand, infertility is the inability to produce offspring. The NHS classes infertility as not being able to conceive a child within 1 year of regular sex. Reproduction relies on a number of different processes, so there are a lot of ways infertility can be caused. The sperm can be of the wrong shape. There could be too low a sperm count.
Where'd everyone go?
The sperm could lack motility. In women, there could be a lack of ovulation.
Come on, egg, time to go.
No! Or a blockage of the fallopian tubes.
You shall not pass!
But 25% of the time, no reason can be found. It is known that one of the most important factors will be the role of the sex hormones, testosterone and estrogen. Both are found in both sexes, but testosterone is in higher levels in men and estrogen is in higher levels in women. Testosterone and estrogen play a vital role in the development and function of the reproductive system.
The levels of fertility can be reduced by exposure to a number of different contaminants. Some effects may be temporary and some may last a lifetime. For example, your fertility can be permanently reduced while still in the womb.
Industry, agriculture, traffic. These are some of the largest causes of pollution in the world. You remember the water cycle. Water rains down from the clouds onto the land before running into the streams and rivers and then evaporating back up into the clouds. Pollutants do much the same. Pollutants include things such as heavy metals, fertilizers, pesticides, estrogen, fluorine, dioxin, and more. And they're affecting your environment and you.
Pesticides are washed into our water supply from farms, and some of them have been proven to have an effect on sperm. Males with a higher rate of exposure to pesticides have an increased percentage of physically deformed sperm and reduced sperm density. Fluorine is a chemical that can be found in pesticides and can be a water and food pollutant. Though it does have beneficial uses and is added to our water supply purposefully, there may be a correlation between long-term exposure to fluorine and lowered fertility in men. Rabbits and mice exposed to high levels of fluorine in their diet had a reduced sperm count and reduced sperm motility.
Dioxins are another group of chemicals that are very toxic. They are created as waste products in manufacturing processes such as smelting, manufacture of pesticides, and waste incineration. There are small amounts of these dioxins everywhere, but too much exposure can reduce an individual's long-term fertility dramatically. Industrial accidents can see high amounts of dioxins released into the atmosphere, where they can eventually find their way into our food and then into our bodies.
$7.2 billion people. That's the world. Right there. Boom. 1/5 of the population of the world lives in China. And last week, the Chinese government released data saying that 1/5 of their agricultural land is polluted. The main pollutants are cadmium, nickel, and arsenic. In some locations, the researchers found soil containing cadmium levels more than 200 times the national health standard. Cadmium is very damaging to human health. Generally speaking, you can't take in more than 2 grams of cadmium in a lifetime. Some areas of China, more than 40% of the rice and almost all of the vegetables showed levels of cadmium exceeding the national standards. Not good. Cadmium reduces both male and female fertility, in males affecting both sperm count and shape. Fertilizers used on fields in much of the world are known to contain heavy metals, again frequently including cadmium as well as lead and mercury. This enters the food and also seeps into the groundwater used for drinking. Arsenic, found at higher levels in many underground water sources across North China, can damage sperm DNA, leaving men infertile. There are studies claiming that lead could be behind 1/5 of all cases of male infertility. Lead has been associated with increased rates of infertility, miscarriage and stillbirth, even at low blood lead levels. Chronic exposure affects both sexes in men, reducing sperm count and motility. China is suffering from more than just heavy metal pollution and could be the most polluted country in the world. Just 1/3 of a Shanghai sperm bank's supply met with the World Health Organization's sperm standards, and infertility in the childbearing population of the country is estimated at 12.5%.
A study of motorway tollgate attendants showed that traffic pollution damages sperm and may reduce fertility in young and middle-aged men. Increased levels of nitrogen oxide and lead released from traffic pollution has adverse effects on sperm, showing a decrease in the ability of the sperm to reach and penetrate an egg. Emissions from motor vehicles are also leading examples of acid rain, which is a clear example of the direct link between air and water pollution. Acid rain may not affect human fertility directly, but what it will do is dissolve minerals from the ground and move them into the soil and water supplies. What minerals, I hear you ask? Well, for starters, cadmium, and for dessert, the other heavy metals.
A Chinese government report last year found the average sperm count in Chinese men had dropped from 100 million per litre about 40 years ago to as low as 20 million last year. There have been many claims that the average human sperm counts have been falling in the last 50 years.
Sperm counts aren't what they used to be. Back in my day, when we sent those boys out, we expected the job to be done.
And pollutants in our environment may be to blame. Chemicals like dioxins and also estrogen can act as anti-androgens. This group of chemicals inhibit the hormone testosterone, which is very important in the production of sperm. Exposure to too much estrogen in the womb can result in negative effects on organisms' reproductive development and fertility. Estrogen pollution in rivers can inhibit male fish's ability to produce normal sperm, and also begins to feminize them. These fish actually start to develop female organs. Oh god, that's new. The reproductive system of fish and mammals is similar enough for there to be a need to worry that estrogen pollution is contributing to lowered fertility in men. Average male sperm count in 1940 was reported to be 113 million per milliliter, whilst in 1990 it had apparently dropped to 66 million per milliliter. As well as the overall sperm count, the volume per ejaculate has also appeared to drop. Although these claims that sperm counts are falling have been disputed and blamed on different methods and geographical discrepancies, the argument is still unresolved. However, there are still ways in which pollution can affect fertility.
Radiation and your gonads do not mix well. Evidence of this is shown from those who have undergone radiation therapy to treat cancer, from those who have lived near the site of nuclear disasters, such as Chernobyl. Radiation can stop your production of sperm, can destroy a woman's supply of eggs, inducing an early menopause, and exposure to the child can affect the structure of the internal body parts involved in fertility, enough to make them infertile later in life. However, this is the high doses nearest to the source of radiation. There remains little conclusive proof that radiation further from the site of contamination can have an impact on fertility levels, such as that from the Fukushima disaster.
There are many known causes of infertility and reduced levels of fertility, such as age, being under or overweight, smoking and drugs, and even more mundane things you might not even think about, like eating spicy food and wearing tight underwear or skinny jeans.
We can definitely see how the things we put into our environment can come back and affect our bodies, but the long-term effects of pollution are not really known.
Much concern is being raised on the issue, and in the wake of announcements of the scale of the pollution situation in China, this April, China has announced a war on pollution and is increasing funding into many studies of its effects on fertility.
That these studies are beginning on the link between pollution and fertility, it shows that there is a reasonable cause for concern that it is potentially affecting our long-term fertility.
And because our fertility is so important for the human race, we obviously need to preserve it by doing everything we can to prevent infertility.
Fertility!